Ilara lived in a small cabin, nestled beside a forest, where the wind whispered secrets through the tall pine trees. She wasn't like other people who liked big cities or noisy places. Ilara loved the quiet, the rustle of leaves, and especially the wild horses that roamed the vast, open lands nearby. These magnificent creatures, with their flowing manes and powerful hooves, filled her heart with a special kind of joy. Ever since she was a little girl, Ilara had dreamed of running with them, of understanding their secret language, and of learning everything about their lives. She spent hours drawing them in her sketchbook, trying to capture the spirit in their eyes and the grace in their gallop. Her cabin walls were covered with these drawings, each one a testament to her deep affection for the wild herds. Before we continue, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss a new video. And tell me, where are you watching this video from? I love seeing all different people come together for these stories. Ilara was known in her small community for her kindness. She would often help injured birds or lost animals find their way back home. But she was also brave. She wasn't afraid of long walks in the wilderness or facing the challenges that nature sometimes presented. This blend of kindness and bravery made her the perfect person to follow her biggest dream: to study the wild horses up close. She wanted to know how they lived, what they ate, and how they cared for their young. Most of all, she longed to witness the birth of a new foal, a tiny spark of life joining the wild family. It was a rare and special event, one that few people ever got to see. Ilara believed that if she was patient and respectful, the horses might just let her in on their secret world. Every morning, she would wake up before the sun, make a warm cup of tea, and look out her window towards the distant hills where the horses often grazed. She had binoculars and a notebook ready, always hoping to spot a new mare with a swollen belly, a sign that a new life was on its way. She knew it would take a lot of waiting and a lot of walking, but Ilara was ready. Her heart was set on this adventure, and nothing could stop her from trying to learn more about the animals she loved so much. She felt a deep connection to these free spirits, and she believed they had much to teach her about life, courage, and the beauty of the natural world. This was her true calling, her heart's desire, and she was ready for whatever the wild lands would reveal. One crisp morning, as the first rays of sun painted the sky with soft pink and orange hues, Ilara peered through her binoculars. Her gaze swept across the rolling hills, a familiar stretch of land where the wild horses often roamed. Suddenly, her breath hitched. There, in a clearing near a winding stream, was a magnificent herd. And within that herd, a mare stood out. This mare was larger than the others, her belly round and full, a clear sign that she was expecting a foal. Ilara's heart fluttered like a bird's wings. This was it. This was the chance she had been waiting for, the very reason she spent so much time observing from her cabin window. The mare's coat was a rich, earthy brown, and her eyes held a gentle wisdom. Ilara felt an instant connection to her, a quiet promise that she would be a wonderful mother. The mare moved slowly, grazing on the tender grass, occasionally nudging another horse with her nose. The rest of the herd seemed to sense her special condition, moving around her with a soft respect. They were a family, a strong unit, and soon they would welcome a new member. Ilara watched them for a long time, making sure of what she saw. There was no doubt. This mare was heavily pregnant. A thrill ran through Ilara. This wasn't just any herd. It was the herd, the one she had been patiently waiting for. She knew what she had to do. With a firm resolve, she decided she would follow them. It wouldn't be easy. The wild horses traveled great distances, often through rough terrain. She would have to be careful, quiet, and strong. But the thought of witnessing a new life enter the world, of seeing a tiny foal take its first wobbly steps, filled her with an unshakable determination. Elara carefully put away her binoculars. Her mind began to buzz with plans she needed to prepare. This wasn't a short stroll in the woods. This was an expedition. She would need supplies, a way to stay hidden, and all her courage. The sun climbed higher, warming the air, but Elara barely noticed the change. Her focus was entirely on the brown mare and the incredible journey that lay ahead. She would follow them, step by careful step, until the secret of the new foal was revealed. This was more than just studying horses. It was an adventure into the heart of nature itself. With her mind set on the wild horses, Elara hurried back inside her cozy cabin. This wasn't a trip she could start unprepared. She needed to think carefully about everything she might need for several days out in the wilderness. Her worn leather backpack, a faithful friend on many nature walks, was pulled from its hook. First, food. She gathered energy bars, dried fruit, and a small bag of nuts. These foods were light to carry, but would give her strength. She also packed some jerky, a salty treat that would keep her going. Next, water. This was the most important thing. Elara filled 2 large, sturdy water bottles, knowing that finding fresh, clean water in the wild could sometimes be tricky. She also tucked in a small water filter, just in case she needed to drink from a stream. For warmth and comfort, she rolled up her favorite wool blanket. It was soft and thick, perfect for chilly nights under the stars. She added a small, lightweight tarp that could be used as a simple shelter if rain came. A small first aid kit went in next, with bandages, antiseptic wipes, and pain relief, because even the most careful explorer can have a small accident. Her trusty binoculars, which had helped her spot the pregnant mare, were carefully placed in a padded pocket. Her notebook and a pencil were added too, so she could jot down observations and sketch the horses. A sharp knife, a compass, and a small flashlight completed her essential gear. She checked her boots, making sure the laces were strong and the soles ready for long walks. She wore layers of comfortable clothes, knowing the temperature could change quickly from day to night. As she packed, Elara felt a mix of excitement and quiet focus. Each item she placed in her bag was a step closer to her dream. She pictured the mare moving slowly with her precious cargo and knew she had to be ready for anything. The sun was now high in the sky, casting long shadows from the pine trees. The wild horses wouldn't wait for her. With her backpack snugly on her shoulders, feeling just the right weight, Elara took one last look around her cabin, then stepped out, ready to begin her great adventure. The wilderness beckoned, and Elara was ready to answer its call. With her backpack settled and her heart full of purpose, Elara began her trek. She moved like a shadow, light on her feet, choosing her path with care. Her goal was clear: follow the herd without letting them know she was there. Wild horses were shy creatures, and any sudden movement or loud noise could send them galloping away, ruining her chance to observe the pregnant mare. Elara knew the land well. She used every tree, every bush, every rise in the ground as cover. When the horses grazed in an open meadow, she would wait, sometimes for a long time, hidden behind a cluster of rocks until they moved into a more wooded area. She learned their rhythms: when they stopped to eat, when they drank from a stream, and when they simply rested in the warm sunshine. The sun climbed higher, casting dappled light through the leaves. Elara's eyes were always on the herd, especially the brown mare. The mare walked slowly, often lagging a little behind the others, a gentle reminder of the precious life she carried. Alara felt a deep respect for her and for the entire herd that protected her. Sometimes, a curious young horse would lift its head, nostrils twitching, sniffing the air for anything unusual. Alara would freeze, holding her breath, becoming as still as the trees around her. Her years of practice in the wilderness had taught her patience and how to blend in. She wore clothes that were the color of the earth and leaves, helping her to disappear into the natural world. The sound of her own footsteps was barely a whisper on the forest floor. She avoided stepping on dry twigs that might snap, and she always made sure the wind was blowing from the horses towards her so her scent wouldn't alarm them. It was a dance of silent movement, a game of hide-and-seek with the wild. As the afternoon wore on, the herd continued their journey, leading Alara deeper into the less traveled parts of the wilderness. She never lost sight of them, even when they disappeared behind a ridge or into a dense thicket of trees. Her focus was absolute, her determination unwavering. She was a silent observer, a respectful guest in their world, hoping for a glimpse of the miracle that was about to unfold. Every careful step brought her closer to her dream, and with each passing hour, her connection to the wild horses grew stronger. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery oranges and deep purples. Alara found a hidden spot behind a cluster of dense pines, where she could still glimpse the silhouettes of the horses against the fading light. She unrolled her blanket, ate some dried fruit and nuts, and took a long drink of water. The air grew cool, and the sounds of the forest changed from chirping birds to the rustling of unseen creatures. As the first night settled in, Alara felt a deep tiredness in her bones. Her muscles ached from the long hours of walking and crouching, but her mind was wide awake. She thought of the pregnant mare, wondering if the foal would arrive soon. Sleep came in short bursts, light and watchful, her ears always listening for any changes in the herd's sounds. The next morning, she woke with the dew still clinging to the grass. The horses were already moving, a quiet procession across a wide, grassy plain. Alara quickly packed her things and resumed her silent trailing. The day was much like the first, a careful dance of following and hiding. She saw the mare stop more often, taking longer rests, and sometimes nudging her side as if to soothe an ache. Another day turned into another night. Alara was starting to feel the strain. Her food supply was dwindling, and her water was precious. Yet, with each passing hour, her excitement grew stronger. She was so close, she could feel it. The mare's time had to be near. Every time the herd paused for longer than usual, Alara's heart would beat a little faster, thinking, "Is it now?" She learned to read the signs of the wild, the way the wind carried scents, the calls of different birds, and the subtle shifts in the horse's behavior. She watched as the other horses in the herd seemed to draw a little closer to the pregnant mare, forming a protective circle around her when they rested. It was a beautiful display of family and care in the wild. By the third evening, Alara was truly exhausted. Her body craved a soft bed and a warm meal, but her spirit was soaring. The thought of the tiny foal, hidden inside its mother, gave her endless energy. She imagined its soft fur, its wobbly legs, and the moment it would stand for the very first time. She knew that any moment now, the miracle she had traveled so far to see would happen. Despite her weariness, a warm glow of anticipation filled her. She settled down for another watchful night, ready for the dawn and the new day's possibilities. The first light of dawn began to paint the sky with soft, pearly hues. Alara stirred from her light sleep, feeling the chill of the morning air. Her eyes, still heavy with sleep, instantly sought out the wild horse herd. She blinked, then sat up straight, her tiredness instantly forgotten. Something was different. The horses were not spread out grazing as they usually were at this hour. Instead, they were gathered together, forming a tight circle. Their heads were bowed, their bodies close, creating a living wall around something in the center. The pregnant mare was there, but she was no longer moving restlessly. She was still, a calm presence at the heart of the group. Ilara's heart began to thump, a steady rhythm against her ribs. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the sight she had dreamed of for so long. The quiet stillness of the herd, their focused attention, spoke volumes. A new life had joined them. She carefully reached for her binoculars, her hands trembling slightly with anticipation. Through the lenses, she could see the horses gently nudging each other, their movements slow and deliberate. It was a picture of peace and protection, a sacred moment in the wild. The morning air was filled with a soft whinny, a sound of gentle welcome from one of the older mares. Ilara knew she couldn't rush. The horses were sensitive, and she didn't want to disturb this precious scene. She took a deep breath, reminding herself to be patient, to respect their space. She had come all this way, endured days of following, and now the reward was almost within reach. The sun was slowly rising, casting a golden glow over the scene, making the horses' coats shimmer. The air felt electric with the unspoken joy of the herd. They were celebrating, in their own quiet way, the arrival of a new member. Ilara imagined the tiny foal, perhaps still wet, finding its footing for the first time, guided by its mother's loving nose. A warm smile spread across Ilara's face. All the fatigue, all the hunger, all the long nights faded away in the face of this beautiful sight. She was truly part of something special, an honored witness to nature's magic. She watched, her eyes wide with wonder, waiting for the perfect moment to draw a little closer and see the new addition to the wild family. The sight of the gathered herd filled Ilara with an urge to get closer, to see the new foal with her own eyes. But she knew she had to be extra careful now. Any sudden movement could break the peaceful scene and frighten the horses, making them flee and perhaps even hurt the tiny new arrival. She lowered her binoculars and began to move, slower than a snail, quieter than a falling leaf. Each step was a carefully planned act. She focused on the ground, making sure her boots landed on soft moss or smooth earth, avoiding any dry twigs that might snap underfoot. Her body was bent low, almost crawling, using the tall grasses and low bushes as a green shield. Her heart thumped a strong, steady rhythm against her ribs. It wasn't just excitement now. It was a deep, respectful anticipation. She was about to witness a miracle of nature, a moment of pure joy and new life. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. She could hear the soft whinnies and gentle snorts of the horses, sounds of comfort and communication. Ilara kept her eyes on the edges of the protective circle, looking for gaps between the horses where she might catch a glimpse. She imagined the foal, small and delicate, nestled safely within its family. The sun was getting higher, painting the landscape in brighter shades. But Ilara stayed in the shadows, moving inch by painstaking inch. She found a small rise in the ground, covered with thick shrubs, that offered a slightly better view. It was still a bit far to see clearly, but she could sense the warmth and closeness of the herd. One of the mares lifted her head, her ears swiveling, but she quickly settled back down, seemingly content. Ilara held her breath, not daring to move even a muscle until the mare was relaxed again. The journey to this point had been long and tiring. But every ache and every weary moment felt worth it now. The promise of seeing the foal was a powerful magnet, pulling her gently forward. She felt like a part of the landscape, a silent witness, breathing in time with the wild. She was almost there, almost close enough to truly see the special secret the herd had been guarding. Her hands tightened slightly on the binoculars, ready for the moment she could finally raise them and capture the image of the newborn. Ilara held her breath, peering through the leaves of the bushes. The herd shifted slightly, and for a fleeting moment, a gap appeared in their protective circle. Quickly, she raised her binoculars, focusing them on the center. Her eyes widened, and a gasp caught in her throat. She saw the mare, the very one she had followed for days, gently nuzzling a tiny creature. It was indeed a foal, small and wobbly, trying to stand on shaky legs. But it wasn't what Ilara had expected at all. Her mind had pictured a miniature version of a wild horse, with a sleek, solid coat of brown or black. Instead, this little one was different. Very different. The foal was tiny, much smaller than a newborn horse usually was. Its fur was soft and pale, but what truly amazed Ilara were the markings. Across its legs and down its small, round rump were clear, dark stripes, like those of a zebra. They weren't bold and black like a zebra's, but rather soft, faint stripes, a lighter shade of brown against its creamy coat. Its ears were also longer than a horse's, and its face had a different shape, rounder and more delicate. Ilara lowered her binoculars, then lifted them again, just to be sure her eyes weren't playing tricks on her. No, there they were, the unmistakable stripes. It was a sight she'd never seen before. Not in any of her books or studies of wild horses. She blinked, trying to process what she was seeing. A foal with stripes? In a herd of wild horses? It was completely unbelievable. Yet it was right there, in front of her very eyes. A feeling of wonder washed over her, replacing her surprise. The mare, the horse she had watched so carefully, treated this striped baby with the same tender love any mother would. She licked its face, encouraged it to stand, and kept it close to her side. The other horses in the herd also seemed to accept this little one as their own, gently touching it with their noses. Ilara couldn't take her eyes off the extraordinary foal. It was so unexpected, so wonderfully out of place, yet perfectly at home within the horse family. This was a secret, a truly rare and beautiful secret that the wild had chosen to share with her. All her fatigue vanished, replaced by a surge of excitement and pure joy at witnessing such a unique sight. Her dream had come true, but in a way she could never have imagined. As Ilara continued to watch, her initial surprise gave way to understanding. The stripes were not just a cute pattern, they were a clue. And the foal's small size, the shape of its head, and those slightly longer ears all clicked into place in her knowledgeable mind. It wasn't a baby horse. It was something else entirely. It was a baby donkey, a burro. The realization sent a fresh wave of wonder through Ilara. How could a baby donkey be born into a wild horse herd? It was a mystery, a beautiful puzzle that nature had presented. Burros were usually found in different areas, often in more desert-like lands. And while they were related to horses, they were distinct animals. Ilara thought about the mare, the horse mother who had been so pregnant. Had she somehow adopted an orphaned baby burro? Or had a mother burro given birth near the herd and then left, leaving her baby to be found and cared for by the horses? The exact story remained untold, a secret of the wild. But what was clear was that this little burro was now a part of this horse family. The mare treated the tiny burro as if it were her very own foal. She was protective and loving, gently guiding it with her nose, encouraging it to stay close. The burro, with its wobbly legs and curious striped face, seemed completely at ease with its horse mother and its horse siblings. It truly believed it was one of them. Ilara watched as the little burro tried to nurse from the mare, then stumbled a bit before getting its balance. It let out a soft, reedy bray, a sound quite different from a horse's whinny. But the mare didn't seem to mind. She just kept nuzzling it, showing it endless patience and care. This was even more amazing than seeing a new foal. It was a testament to love and family, showing that these feelings weren't just for animals of the same kind. The wild horses had opened their hearts and their herd to a little creature that was different, and they had welcomed it completely. Ilara felt a lump in her throat. This was a story she would never forget, a lesson in acceptance and unconditional love from the most unexpected teachers. She had come to witness a birth, and instead, she had found something even more profound, a family made not by blood, but by kindness and care. The little striped burro, an adopted member of the wild horse herd, was a symbol of pure, wild magic. A wide, genuine smile spread across Ilara's face as she watched the touching scene unfold before her. The little burro, with its soft, striped fur and long ears, was a delightful surprise. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, a mix of pure joy and profound wonder. This wasn't just a rare sight. It was a magical one. To see a wild horse herd, known for being cautious and sometimes wary even of each other, embrace a creature so different was truly special. It showed a depth of kindness and acceptance that Ilara found deeply moving. She had always believed in the inherent goodness of nature, but this moment proved it in the most beautiful way. Ilara thought about all the hours she had spent, the cold nights, the tired muscles, the careful steps. Every single bit of effort was worth it, more than worth it. She had come seeking a simple birth, a common miracle, and instead, she had found something extraordinary, a story that spoke of boundless love. She quietly took out her notebook and pencil, eager to capture this unique image. With gentle strokes, she sketched the mare, her head bent low in affection, and the tiny burro, still wobbly but determined. She tried to capture the faint stripes, the shape of its ears, and the gentle expression in its eyes. This drawing would be a treasured memory, a reminder of the day she found a family that chose love over difference. The sun climbed higher, warming the air, and Ilara felt a sense of peace settle over her. She was not just an observer anymore. She felt connected to this wild family, sharing in their quiet joy. The world felt bigger, more mysterious, and more wonderful than she had ever imagined. She spent a long time simply watching, letting the scene sink into her heart. The burro took a few more steps, then nestled closer to its horse mother, feeling safe and loved. The other horses grazed nearby, keeping a watchful eye, their movements calm and protective. Ilara knew that few people would ever get to see such a sight. It was a gift, a secret shared between the wild and her. She felt lucky, grateful, and incredibly happy. This experience was far beyond any expectation, a true highlight in her lifelong love affair with wild animals. It was a story she would carry with her, a vivid reminder of nature's surprising capacity for love. Ilara continued to watch, captivated by the tender scene. The horse mare, with her warm brown coat and kind eyes, bent her head low to the small, striped burro. She nudged it gently with her muzzle, a soft, encouraging gesture. It was a familiar sight for any mother and her young. but seeing it between a horse and a burro made it all the more special. The mare's actions were full of patience and love. She licked the burro's soft fur, cleaning it with care. The little burro, still finding its legs, leaned into the mare's side, drawing comfort and warmth from her large body. It tried again to nurse, and the mare shifted slightly to make it easier, her body language radiating acceptance. There was no hesitation, no confusion in the mare's behavior. She treated the burro as if it were her very own foal, born from her own body. Her eyes, usually watchful of the surroundings, now held a soft, doting gaze for the small creature beside her. It was clear that to this horse, the burro was simply her baby, deserving of all her love and protection. Alara noticed how the mare would sometimes walk a few steps, then pause, looking back to make sure the burro was following. When the little one stumbled, the mare would wait, sometimes letting out a soft whicker, a sound of gentle reassurance. The burro, in turn, seemed to understand, hurrying to catch up, its tiny tail flicking with determination. The other horses in the herd also showed their acceptance. They would approach the mare and her burro, sniffing gently, sometimes even nuzzling the little one with their noses. There was a sense of calm and unity among them, a clear message that this small, striped newcomer was part of their family now. They formed a protective ring around the mare and burro, especially when they moved to a new grazing spot, ensuring the smallest member was safe. This deep bond, formed across different species, touched Alara's heart profoundly. It was a powerful lesson in what it truly meant to be family. It wasn't about looking the same or being born from the same parents. It was about love, care, and belonging. The wild horses, through their simple natural actions, were showing a wisdom that many humans could learn from. Alara felt privileged to witness such a beautiful, unspoken story of love in the heart of the wilderness. Watching the mare and the little burro, Alara felt a profound truth settle into her heart. She had always believed in the strength of family, but she had thought of it in terms of species, of likeness. Now, the wild horses were showing her something deeper, something more beautiful. Love didn't care about stripes or long ears. Family wasn't just about sharing the same kind of fur or the same type of whinny. It was about connection, about care, about choosing to protect and nurture. Here, in the heart of the wild, a horse had chosen a baby burro as her own, and the entire herd had embraced this choice. Alara thought about her own life, about the people she loved. Sometimes, family wasn't just the people you were born with. It was the friends who stood by you, the neighbors who helped you, the unexpected connections that made life richer. The wild horses were living proof that love could bloom in the most surprising places, creating bonds that were just as strong, if not stronger, than those of blood. This realization filled her with a sense of peace and a quiet joy. It was a lesson she hadn't expected to learn on her journey, but it was perhaps the most important one. The world was full of differences, but it was also full of boundless capacity for love and acceptance. The little burro, safe and cherished within its horse family, was a living symbol of this powerful truth. She watched the burro take a few more wobbly steps, then snuggle closer to its adoptive mother. The mare gently lowered her head, nudging the burro with her nose, as if to say, "You are safe. You are loved. You are ours." And in that simple gesture, Alara saw everything she needed to know about true family. The sun was now fully awake, shining brightly on the peaceful scene. Alara felt a deep gratitude for being a witness to this special moment. It wasn't just about the beauty of the animals, but the beauty of their hearts. She had come to study wild horses, and they had taught her about the wildness of love itself, how it could cross boundaries, defy expectations, and create family in the most unexpected and wonderful ways. This wisdom, gleaned from the silent teachers of the plains, would stay with her long after her journey ended. With her heart full of newfound wisdom and her mind buzzing with the incredible sight, Alara knew she had to capture this moment. Her small notebook and pencil, always ready in her backpack, were now more important than ever. Pictures could speak 1,000 words, and she wanted to tell this story without saying a single sound. She carefully opened her notebook to a fresh page. Her fingers, though a little stiff from the cold mornings, moved with a newfound energy. She started by sketching the horse mare, capturing her gentle eyes and the way her head bent towards the little burro. Then, with even more care, she drew the burro itself. She focused on its small size, its distinct long ears, and especially those faint, surprising stripes on its legs and rump. Alara took her time, making sure to get every detail right. She drew the other horses in the background, showing how they formed a protective circle, their heads sometimes turning to watch the little one. She added the textures of the tall grasses, the distant trees, and the soft light of the morning sun. Each line, each shade of pencil, was a way to remember this unique family. She didn't just draw what she saw, she drew what she felt. The peace, the love, the wonder, all of it poured onto the page through her careful hand. This wasn't just a sketch, it was a treasure map of her emotions, a permanent record of a truly special event. As she drew, the horses continued their quiet life. The burro tried to nibble at some grass, mimicking its mother, and Alara smiled. She added that detail to her drawing, showing the burro's curious spirit. She imagined showing these pictures to her friend, trying to explain the magic that had unfolded before her eyes. Words alone might not be enough, but the drawings would help. She knew these sketches would be more than just pretty pictures. They would be a story, a reminder of the day she followed a wild herd and found a family that was different from any she had ever seen. They would remind her that love knows no boundaries and that the wild world held secrets more wonderful than she could ever dream. These drawings would keep the memory alive, fresh in her mind, forever. With her drawings complete and her heart full of warmth, Alara knew it was time to leave the wild herd. She had witnessed a truly remarkable event, a secret shared by nature itself. She couldn't stay forever, as her food and water were low, and she had already learned the most important lesson the wilderness had to teach her. Slowly and carefully, she began to pull away, retracing her steps. She moved with the same quiet grace she had used to approach them, making sure not to disturb the peaceful family. She took one last, long look at the mare and her striped burro, a picture of perfect harmony etched into her memory. The journey back was different from the journey there. Her body was still tired, but her spirit felt light and renewed. She wasn't driven by eager anticipation anymore, but by a quiet contentment. Every rustle of leaves, every bird song, seemed to whisper of the special secret she carried. Alara thought about the little burro, safe and loved within its horse family. It was a beautiful reminder that even when things seemed unusual or unexpected, love could make a way. She pictured the mare, so proud and tender, and felt a deep respect for her boundless heart. As she walked, the familiar landmarks began to appear. A twisted oak tree, a winding stream, a path she knew well. The sun began to set, painting the sky with the same fiery colors as when she first started her journey. But now they felt like a celebration, a quiet cheer for the secret she held. Her cabin came into view, small and welcoming against the darkening forest. A soft glow from her lamp cast a warm light through the window, a beacon of home. Alara felt a wave of comfort wash over her, a gentle relief after days in the wild. She unlocked her door and stepped inside. The quiet of her cabin, a stark contrast to the vast openness she had just left. She took off her backpack, placing it gently on the floor. Her gaze fell on her sketchbook, tucked safely inside. Her heart was indeed full of a special secret. It wasn't just a story. It was a feeling, a deep understanding of love and acceptance that had been revealed to her by a wild horse herd and their unexpected foal. This secret would be a part of her forever, a quiet strength and wonder in her life. She couldn't wait to share it, carefully, with someone who would truly understand. The very next day, after a long, restful sleep and a hearty meal, Alara knew just who she wanted to tell. Her best friend, Lena, lived just a short walk through the woods. Lena shared Alara's love for nature and always listened with wide-eyed wonder to her stories of the wild. But Alara knew this story was different. This one might even surprise Lena. Alara walked to Lena's cabin, her sketchbook tucked carefully under her arm. When Lena opened the door, her face lit up. "Alara, you're back. How was your trip? Did you see the foal?" Lena asked, her voice full of excitement. Alara smiled, a mysterious twinkle in her eyes. "Oh, Lena, I saw a foal all right, but it wasn't just any foal." They sat by Lena's cozy fireplace, a pot of warm tea between them. Alara began to tell her story, starting with spotting the pregnant mare and the long days of following the herd. Lena listened, nodding, already imagining the wild horses. Then, Alara got to the part where she finally saw the newborn. "And when I got a good look, Lena," Alara said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "it had stripes, like a zebra, and it wasn't a horse at all." Lena's eyes grew wide. "Stripes? Not a horse? What do you mean?" she asked, leaning closer, completely caught up in the tale. "It was a baby donkey," Alara explained. "A little burro. And the horse mare, the one I followed, was treating it like her very own baby. The whole herd was protecting it." Lena gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "A burro? With a horse herd? That's incredible. Are you sure?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief and awe. Alara nodded, her smile growing. "I saw it with my own eyes, and I drew it." She carefully opened her sketchbook and showed Lena the detailed drawings. Lena leaned in, tracing the faint stripes on the tiny burro, her expression a mix of wonder and absolute astonishment. "Oh, Alara," Lena breathed. "This is truly amazing. I've never heard of anything like it. A horse mothering a burro. It's like a fairy tale come true." Alara explained the lesson she had learned, about how love and family could be found in the most unexpected places, crossing all kinds of differences. Lena listened, her eyes thoughtful, clearly moved by the story and the powerful message. Sharing her secret with Lena made it feel even more real, even more special. Lena's disbelief quickly turned to deep appreciation, and Alara knew she had found the perfect person to share this wild wonder with. Even weeks and months after her amazing journey, the image of the wild herd and their little striped burro stayed clear in Alara's mind. She often found herself gazing out her cabin window, not just at the familiar trees, but seeing the rolling plains where the unexpected family roamed. When she sat by her fireplace on chilly evenings, her sketchbook would always be open to the pages showing the mare and the burro. She would trace the lines with her finger, remembering the exact moment she first saw the stripes, the soft wicker of the mare, and the wobbly steps of the tiny donkey. It wasn't just a memory. It was a living picture in her heart. Sometimes, when she was out gathering berries or collecting firewood, she would pause, listening to the wind. She imagined it, carrying the sounds of the herd, perhaps the mare's gentle snort or the little burro's reedy bray. She wondered how the burro was growing, if it was getting stronger, and if its stripes were still as clear. The story had become a part of her, changing the way she saw the world. She saw kindness in unexpected places and beauty in things that were different. The lesson of the wild herd, that love knows no boundaries, echoed in her thoughts. It made her feel more connected to all living things, and even more grateful for the simple wonders of nature. Lena often came to visit, and they would talk about the burro. Lena would ask questions, wanting to know every detail again and again. "Do you think the burro feels like a horse?" she would ask. Elara would smile. "I think it feels loved, and that's all that matters." Elara would sometimes take out her binoculars and scan the distant hills, hoping for another glimpse. She knew the chances were slim, as wild herds moved far and wide, but the hope was always there. It wasn't about finding them again, not really. It was about holding on to the feeling, the knowledge that such a wonderful family existed out there, living their wild, beautiful lives. The memory of the little striped burro was a constant, gentle hum in Elara's life. It was a secret gift from the wilderness, a reminder that the world was full of surprises and that the greatest lessons often came in the most unexpected forms. She would forever cherish the picture of the horse mare and her unique, beloved baby. Elara knew, deep in her heart, that her adventure with the wild horses was more than just a trip. It was a treasure. The memory of the journey, the days spent tracking, the quiet nights under the stars, and especially the moment she saw the surprising foal, would be something she cherished forever. It was a story woven into the very fabric of her being. She often looked at her drawings of the mare and the little striped burro, feeling a fresh wave of wonder each time. These weren't just pictures. They were windows to a moment of pure magic, a time when the wilderness had revealed its deepest secret to her. The lesson of love and family, found in the most unexpected of places, had become a guiding star in her life. The world seemed a little brighter, a little more full of possibilities because of what she had seen. She understood that kindness could bridge any gap, and that a heart open to wonder would always find something extraordinary. The wild horses had taught her more than she could have learned from any book. Sometimes, when she felt lonely or a little sad, she would close her eyes and picture the herd. She would see the mare, strong and gentle, and the little burro, safe and loved, taking its first steps in a world that had embraced it fully. And that image would fill her with warmth and a quiet strength. Elara knew that she might never see that specific herd again. The wild moved on, always changing, always seeking new pastures. But that didn't matter. What mattered was the indelible mark they had left on her soul. Her adventure was a part of her, a beautiful chapter in her life story that she would carry with pride and joy. Her cabin, once just a home, now felt like a sanctuary of shared secrets, echoing with the unspoken lessons of the wild. The spirit of the surprising foal, the loving mare, and the accepting herd lived on in her heart, a constant reminder of the profound beauty of nature and the boundless capacity for love. Elara would forever cherish this incredible memory, a beacon of wonder in her quiet, nature-filled life.